So the longer that you live, the longer that you will live is what most of the research shakes out. Of course, it's probability, so it doesn't happen for everybody, right? But there are higher chances that the longer that you live, the longer you will live. And so, planning for longevity is something that one really needs to think about and consider for their own lifestyles. And so, whenever I think about longevity, there's five things that come to mind when it comes to planning for longevity in retirement. The first thing is healthcare costs. The healthcare costs can be tremendous, and so we've got to be thinking about how are we going to pay for healthcare throughout our lifespan. Not only those ongoing insurance premiums, but also potentially increased costs as you get older. The second part tied to that is the aging process. So oftentimes, when people are planning for retirement, they're thinking of that first stage of retirement whenever they're going to be young and healthy and ready to conquer the world. But that maybe only lasts for a period of time 10, 15, maybe 20 years. But then there's the ongoing stages of retirement, and that includes towards the end of life where you maybe need more help and need more care. The third thing that I think about is the income sources to provide for that ongoing healthcare costs and care, and the stability of those income sources. So you might have Social Security, potentially a pension, potentially your savings and investments. Those are all components, and how to position those best to provide ongoing income for the long run. The fourth thing is the impact of inflation on those costs as well. So healthcare typically runs at a higher rate of inflation than other expenses. And so we need to be considering what is the inflation impact not only on our regular standard of living, but also on healthcare and the costs associated with that. And the fifth thing are who are the people that are going to be involved as you go through the aging process. Again, it can be a long time. So if you're looking around at your peers, maybe siblings, to help out as you go through the aging process, that might be good for a time. But then there will be a time where they will probably too be in a situation where they maybe are unable to help, and so you have to look at that second generation, maybe your own children, or if you don't have children, nieces, nephews, or even other sources of people who can help as you go through the aging process. Because again, longevity means that you're going to be living not only maybe into your 70s, but 80s, 90s, maybe even hundreds, depending on your health and history and all of that stuff. So those are five things that I think of when it comes to longevity and planning for retirement. To go into further detail on each of those, let's start again with number one, healthcare costs. Healthcare costs is multifaceted. There's a lot of different components to the cost that one would incur as they go throughout retirement. There is the ongoing insurance premiums, and so if you retire at 65 or later, then you would qualify for Medicare. So there's Medicare premiums, insurance premiums involved. But then you also have your deductibles, your co-pays, your prescriptions. All of those things all start to add up, and those costs can vary widely. And it's really good to take a look at what sort of healthcare you use currently and what that might look like moving forward, and having some plans of how to pay for that. But not only do you have your regular ongoing healthcare, as longevity sets in, our bodies just get tired. There comes a time where your mind may be sharp, but your body is just unwilling, or in oftentimes worst case scenarios, your body is healthy, but your mind maybe starts to diminish in some sort of capacity. And so, understanding the costs related to aging, long-term care, needing help around the house. It could be somebody coming to the house or going to some sort of nursing home or continuing care community. There's a lot of different options when it comes to aging, but that all kind of boils up underneath that healthcare costs, and paying for that. Whether you decide to use your own funds, or perhaps looking at insurance solutions, depending on your age, you maybe have more options to try to tackle that problem. The second component of planning for longevity and retirement is aging. And so aging, again, is whenever I think about someone retiring and when we're planning for retirement, we not only want to plan for that first phase. I often say that there's three phases of retirement. There's the go go, the slow go, and then the no go. And so the go go is what most people think about when they think about retirement. It's they've retired, they have enough money to live on, so they're able to do the traveling that they want to do, go see the grandkids, be able to help with volunteering and charity work and all of that type of stuff. And that usually is mid 60s to maybe mid 70s or so. Then the next phase is a slow go. You've done the things that you wanted to do, hopefully, and you're starting to kind of slow down, maybe become a little bit more of a homebody, or just be more of a local body, just because you've now gotten a little bit older and unable to do the things that you were able to do, but still overall in good health. And that's usually the lowest cost period of everyone's lifetime. And then you go to the no go phase, which is uh, generally one of the most expensive time frames, because that's again where you need that extra help around the house. You might need extra help with just regular activities, getting up in the morning, bathing, cooking, all of that stuff kind of falls into that category. And so the aging process and understanding the ebbs and flows of that is an important part of planning for longevity, because we don't necessarily want to burn through all of your money in the go-go phase, because we know that that no-go phase is eventually coming. And most people don't want to be a burden on their family and have their family to have to step in to cover those time frames. So it's good to have some resources there to be able to plan for that. The third thing to consider is your income sources. So how are you going to pay for all of this, right? Oftentimes we have Social Security. Some may have a pension, and those two are typically guaranteed sources of income. Of course, Social Security, there's question marks around that. I get that, that there um, funding concerns with Social Security. And your pension, hopefully that is guaranteed. Of course, it's guaranteed by the company, so there's always some risk with that. But hopefully, that's a low risk. You'd have to know based on your company. Like the Walt Disney Company, for example, does have a pension, but that's pretty well funded. Of course, nothing's ever really 100% guaranteed, but it is guaranteed by the Walt Disney Company, which, as of right now, this is being filmed in 2024, is in pretty good standing. Now, you might have those two sources, and maybe that's enough, but maybe that's not enough. And so that's where then your savings comes in. Maybe you had an old 401k, an IRA, maybe you had some stocks, maybe some company stocks, some mutual funds, what have you, can be tied into that. And then that's where we start to look at the portfolio design to be able to generate additional income that's going to help pay for the ongoing cost of healthcare and hopefully still grow over time. The fourth component is inflation. Inflation is a broad term that covers obviously all aspects of things that we consume and spend money on. And inflation can vary from product to product or service to service. So, whenever inflation is quoted on a headline like CPI, for example, the Consumer Price Index, that is the average for a bunch of different categories boiled up into that number. Healthcare services generally skew on the higher end of inflation, and so to be properly planning for healthcare costs as you age, and planning for that longevity as you age, we want to make sure we have the proper inflation numbers associated with those healthcare costs, and planning appropriately for those healthcare costs probably to increase faster than the cost of other goods and services that we pay for. And the fifth component is the people component. And this one sometimes can be the hardest and sometimes can be the easiest, just depends on your situation. Oftentimes, as we age, we have to think about what happens if you are no longer able to manage your finances by yourself, and who is going to be the person, or who are the people that are going to step in to help in that process. And that could be the day-to-day things like paying your bills, filing your taxes, managing your investments. It could be things like coordinating healthcare, if you have maybe some sort of nursing assistant or somebody that comes into the house, or perhaps you're living at a nursing facility, going and checking in on that person, making healthcare decisions, scheduling doctor's appointments, all of that type of stuff may need to be handed over to somebody at some point in time, either completely or partly. And so thinking about the people involved and who would be appropriately able to help with that, somebody obviously trustworthy, but also somebody who's available to be able to help with that stuff. Oftentimes it's children, but if you don't have children, or maybe you have or tense relationships with your children, perhaps it needs to be somebody else, maybe a niece or a nephew, or even I've even seen some clients have used work colleagues that people have had good relationships with over time, and are willing to take on those roles and responsibilities. Of course, you have to talk through that stuff with that person, work with an attorney to set up the right documents, all of that type of stuff. But when we're planning for longevity, the people component ends up being a big component, because we need to have the people in place to be able to implement a plan as you go through the longevity process. So I know this is not a fun topic, not warm and fuzzy, but it's unfortunately part of life, and so it's, I think, a prudent thing to think about and address these issues. Certainly, if you have questions, you can drop a comment. My name is Kyle Newell. I'm a fee-only financial advisor in Winter Garden, Florida. Work with people around the Central Florida area, Orlando, Claremont, Popka, what have you, on planning for retirement and taxes and strategy and all of that type of stuff. And this is, of course, educational content only. No specific advice given here. Just wanted to give you some things to think about and ponder about. Talk to your own financial advisor, talk to your own tax advisor, talk to your own attorney before making any decisions around the consequences around this stuff. But if you don't have one of those, or if you need help or want a second opinion, certainly you can reach out. My website is newellwm.com, NEWELLWM.com, and you can reach out to me directly there. I hope you found this valuable, and I hope you have a great day. Take care.